beautiful people, welcome to Teach Crest. It's your host Ruth Kerubo, and today we want to look at motivation. How do you get to motivate your learners and sustain that motivation? First of all, what is motivation? Motivation refers to the general process by which behavior is initiated and directed towards a goal. And we have two types of motivation: intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Motivation that comes within oneself is known as intrinsic motivation, and this is the best one to be tapped on. Then we have extrinsic. This comes from the external environment. For example, someone does assignments so that they can avoid being caned, or they want a present, but if it was intrinsic, they just do for its own sake. Why is motivation very important? It helps to inculcate interest in the learning process. Number two, it helps to arouse learners' curiosity. And the third one, it creates in the learners' minds a desire to learn more, e.g. to work on their own. And the fourth reason is it helps to sustain the learner's attention, making the learners to be focused. Well, there have been many theories that have been put forward concerning motivation. Some are behavioral, some are cognitive, and the most common is Abraham Maslow's, which classifies objects that a human being has different needs, starting from physiological to safety to belonging, self-esteem, self-actualization, and all these things usually motivate a person. In class, we have different learners' needs. How do you get to motivate them? First thing, when you enter into class, enter with a catchy introduction. After the greetings, even in your lesson plan, you ensure that first these greetings, you can decide to even greet them in a new language. For example, it's French, bonjour. If it's in Korean, annyeonghaseyo, and they will get to respond. If it is in German, good morning, to be guten morning. You see, if it's in Kiswahili, you can get to even greet them in Arabic. For example, salam alaikum. That is on greeting, so you can use even a different language to motivate them to learn. The second thing we have said is to use a catchy introduction. And how do you do this? You do this through set induction. You can use, for example, a story to set the pace. You can also use a picture. In this picture, you ask them, for example, what they can see. It's like, for example, when we do the lessons at church, you find the teacher brings a photo of even the lesson front and asks us to be able to identify what we can see. That is setting induction. You can also come up with a poem, and it will get to arouse, and they'll have to get a desire. I used to love my English teacher, Madam Leah Chimtai. Hi to you. So she used to use these poems, like there's one about milk in a rubindi, and she could tell us how she used to marvel, and the non-verbal cues, the way she'll use them, will get excited and will want even to just do like her. It will remove that judgmental environment, and everyone will be able to just desire to even do like her. And so as such, our confidence was built, because we're like, if teacher A so and so can do that, I can also do it in front of the students. So that's what you can do under set induction. You can also use a song. Yeah, let's say I want to teach about animals. I can decide to use a song. For example, um, it's in Kiswahili. We can say, for example, D for dog, D for dog, D for dog, D for dog, E for eggs, F for flowers, F for flowers, G for girl, H for hen. You see, you can get to make a song. You can even use the songs that they know, the ones that is connected to that lesson. Just ensure it is relevant. Another thing, ensure your environment is conducive for learning. How do you ensure that your environment is conducive for learning? First, ensure there is proper lighting so that even the students with eye problems do not strain so much. Ensure the windows are open, and when they are open, it ensures there is free circulation of air for better aeration. Ensure the room is clean. You can get to ask them, look on the floor, is it clean? That's what you get to do. You can get to ask them to pick litter that is on the floor. Thereafter, you can even look at the chairs. Are they organized? Are they proper to avoid inconveniences? Also look at the book ratio. Is it fair enough? For example, it's supposed to be 1:1. Apart from the book ratio, what about the charts? Are they visible from afar? How relevant are they? Are they age friendly? Are they conveying the right message? What about the books? Do they have the right spacing? We're going to look at how to choose books. You're going even to look at the level of language that is used, the illustrations. Is it child or learner friendly? Another thing to do to motivate learners is to use positive reinforcement techniques. Get to ask good questions, and after you have asked the questions, get to pump them, psych them up. Even when they get the wrong answers, get to tell them, good try. If they got it, tell them, excellent. For example, you ask 1 plus 1 is equivalent to what? Then you find a student tells you 2. Tell them, perfect. So dakta hivi it's in Kiswahili. This helps them to feel appreciated, get to celebrate them. Another thing, you can get to smile, when they do something correct, that is good. Get to nod. Sometimes you can even bring sweets to class and give them once they have done the correct thing. The other method you can use is stimulus variation. You can have seriousness in your tone. For example, when you can say, students, look here. At some point you even get to change your tone. You can increase it, you can reduce it, you can make sure it's just average. For example, you want to emphasize, you can raise your voice. Let's say someone is sleeping in class, you can say, Kerubo, Kerubo, and she'll get to answer. So that will make the person to be alert. Also be mobile in class. Don't just stand like a statue in front. Walk around the rows, move in and get to see what they're doing. It's so funny that you'll find that some students are cheeky. They will even be reading novels under their laps while you're teaching. So you need to move around and see what they're doing. Get to see whether someone has been left behind. Another thing, when you're emphasizing on a point, let's say it was written on the board, you can get to underline to show emphasis. Another method, so we want to look at the methods of sustaining that motivation now that you have jumped them up. You can, oh sorry, you can also do role playing. You give them roles to do. Yeah, you can put them in groups where they can be vulnerable to each other. Even groups of two, they get to do a simple assignments. Yeah, when you're introducing your learning objectives, I know most people use the ones that are the book based, but really you can get to class, introduce, mention the topic that you're going to discuss, give them options on, or different approaches on how you're going to tackle it. Let's say it's about doing algebra. You can get to have different um, ideas. You get to brainstorm on how to come up with an answer. Let's say we want to find a solution to simultaneous equation. There are many methods one can use, including the graphical illustration. So you get to give them different approaches so that they can keep trying to use them, and as such that will arouse their interest and inculcate the interest in the learning process. Give them freedom. That is it. Sometimes give them even freedom to choose questions they can do. Give them even a variety, then they get to choose. Some students require complex items. Let's say it's in essay writing, others require simple things. Another thing, um, for example, if it's online learning, you can even give them the option. For example, you have asked a question, you can give them the option to either um, put on the mic and say the answer. You can get to give them even a chance to show their face so they can discuss. For those who are shy, they can also use the chat method. So give them freedom, so that they don't feel curtailed to do something. Sustain that motivation. Get to use a variety of teaching strategies. You can use the informal lecture method. You can use note taking. You can integrate group discussions. You can do a panel discussion. Yeah, in groups of 3 to 4. And these varieties will involve the students. They can even be doing the text reading. Others get to dramatize. They get to do dictation. For example, if it was a language class, they can get to do class presentations. Yeah, they can carry out experiments to make them more observant. They get to do the question and answer method. Yeah, you can even involve solving problems. So you give them a chalk and they go on the board and they get to do and solve the problems. They can get to draw diagrams, maps, pictures. Yeah, and they can even get to copy notes. All these activities will ensure that they don't get bored, but instead to have the attention captured and their curiosity provoked. You see, the other thing to do to ensure there is sustained motivation is to maintain the success expectation. So to do that, you must have a progress list. If a student last time got 40% and they have set a target of 50, get to encourage them once they get to hit that 50. And even if they don't get a 50, just get to tell them progress is progress, even if it's just by a half. Yeah, so get to keep a progress list. Ask what they expect, and this shows your mastery of content. And when you're a master of content, you ensure that you're competent, so that you don't entertain questions outside the topic, because you're basing on the topic. Because remember, you have limited time in class. As much as we need an active class, also be a master of the content that you are delivering. Another thing is to cater for learners' needs. For example, some come from different religious backgrounds, social status. Others have different abilities. Some could be average, some below average. So you can even get to see the language command you're using, the handwriting. Yeah, I remember at one point we were in high school, we were having the drama happening, the competition. So we could practice at night. And when our geography teacher, Madame Bourget, could come in class, she found us that most of us were sleepy, and she asked us what is our problem. We got to explain to her that we were feeling sleepy, and she understood. At some point, we could even get to open to her about our fears, and just knowing that she was available for us and that she truly cared for us was everything. So we got to be interested even in her subject because she was amazing. So just to reciprocate that. Another thing is provide opportunity for active response. So here ensure you don't ask chorus answers. Have you understood? To get yes or no. Now get to ask them specific questions. What have you learned today, for example? Yeah. Another thing, get to minimize performance anxiety by putting less emphasis on grades and competition. And to reduce this fear means that you have to tell them to trust the process rather than the product. That's why you get to celebrate the small wins. Yeah. Even underlining a page, getting to make straight lines, that's something commendable. So you can get to minimize that performance anxiety. Yeah, reduce competition, and that's why you have to ensure there is collaboration, um because that way they will get to merge together their brains and come with a solid answer. Another thing, always give the learners an immediate feedback. um don't just test them. For example, you have given them a test, then you fail to give them the right feedback. So this feedback should be immediate, especially on after marking the assignments, because immediately you can even get to remember some of the problems or mistakes they made and get to correct them, and they'll be able to stick into their minds. If you have given them cards, get to return the papers and correct them so that they see the seriousness. You can also do remedial action to improve that performance. Another thing that's worth noting is that you should not really emphasize on assessments that are not constructive. So aim at constructivist assessments. For example, they get to write essays, get to do solve problems. Then um, they get to even exchange books among themselves and get to edit or rather correct one another. Mm, yeah. So it's not necessarily that it has to be the traditional approaches whereby the teacher is doing everything. No, you're just a facilitator, you're learning partner. It from here. Perhaps if you can't remember anything, you can remember about the charts. This is my ABCD chart. From afar, this is how it looks. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah, I like it. Until next time, I hope you've learned how to deal with student motivation and how to keep them engaged and motivated. Bye.